And here we are. Welcome to The Right Hook. I am your host, Steve Hook. Wonderful to be with you again. This is the second show that we've done. Of course, the first one we did this past Wednesday, just a couple of days ago, went great. Loved it. I want to thank everybody for your eyeballs and your ear holes on that show. It did very, very well. And that makes us feel kind of jazzed about that, to be honest with you. I just want to give you a little, kind of a little behind the scenes talk here so we know where we're going forward. Every Wednesday, and at least this is the plan for now. Every Wednesday, we'll be doing host. We'll be doing guest rather. I'll have wonderful guests on subjects that we all care about, whether we're discussing Doge, whether we're discussing the border, uh, whatever, foreign policy, even domestic policy. So that's what we'll do on Wednesdays, and we'll really focus on that. Friday will kind of be our wrap up day for the week. We'll go over some of the greatest clips from the week from the news media. And of course, we'll also be leaning in to your thoughts. So, what that means is if you're watching us on X America News right now, or perhaps you're watching us on my Facebook page, which you can find at Facebook/Steve Hook, or you're watching us on Rumble, or even if you're watching us on YouTube, if you comment in the comment section there, and if it's something good and incisive or a question or something, just go ahead and do that, and we will pull you into the show. This is our way of kind of, reciprocal, as Trump has been saying a lot. It's reciprocal, this show. So that's what we plan on doing. Just wanted to get that out of the way so we know going forward that's going to be the game plan, at least for now. And I thank you for being with us. Now, oh, and by the way, you can see that there on my lower third. Go to X and follow me at Right Hook 1776 at Right Hook 1776. Click on there and follow me. I got to be completely honest here. I'm not the best Xer. I'm getting there, but for the longest time, that 140, you could put 140 symbols and then it was dead or whatever. So I never really got the hang of it, but now I am. I'm very active on Facebook and I'm getting more and more active on X as well. So go ahead and give me a follow there. We appreciate you. We sure do. Man, what a week. This is, I could put this on loop and play it every week because so far in the first 30 days of the Trump administration, it's happening it's almost too much winning to keep up with. I remember a time when Trump would say, "You're going to get tired of all the winning. You're going to say, please, no more winning." And now he's proving it, isn't he? He's acting so fast and so furious on so many things that he's got the left and some, it should be said, some members of the Republican Party, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to keep up and they can't slow him down. Folks, here's a man that sat for 4 years outside after he served his first term. For 4 years, he sat and bided his time while fighting all kinds of lawfare against him and never blinking, never sweating it, just saying, we're going to fight on. We're going to fight on. We're going to keep going. He wins a second term, and you can tell that 4 years, he didn't just spend it in court litigating against crap lawsuits. He spent it by putting together a great, great team. If there was any complaint about Trump's first term, it was that the team he surrounded himself with, and I don't think this is any fault of his. I think he goes into Washington and people are whispering in his ears, get this guy, he's good. Get that gal, she's good. Well, they were all good at maybe tiptoeing around the inside the beltway, and they knew the ways of the swamp. Well, Trump is openly rejecting that now, and he's laying off people, and he's digging into books, and he's digging into the numbers, rather, into these various agencies, whether it's the Department of Defense, whether it's energy, whether it's even. I saw Marco Rubio gave a wonderful interview, by the way, with Catherine Herridge, and even Rubio was saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna look at the books inside state." And we're going to clear out the clutter and we're going to get rid of superfluous parts of the agency and we're going to save the American people money. So this is all to the good, but this scares the hell out of them. Now, what happened yesterday? Yesterday, Kash Patel gets confirmed. That means Trump ran the board 19-0. If you'll recall, when he first started naming these people as nominees, people were saying, well, okay, he's going to get Marco Rubio. That's a given. But boy, Kash Patel, no way. Pam Bondi, not going to happen. Well, it happened. All of it has happened. And the reason it has happened is simple. When you're winning, people want to be on the winning team. And Republicans, even those that don't really much like Trump or Trumpianism, are realizing that the political winds are at this guy's back. He is blowing things up, and he's getting the approval of the American people while doing it. I better jump on board. Even Mitch McConnell voted for Kash Patel, which I never thought was going to happen. Of course, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, yeah, they should be primaried. But other than that, he got he didn't even need Vance for this one. He didn't need, Vance had to break the tie with Pete Hegseth. And he did. Vance wasn't even needed this time around. And Vance is another one, by the way, J.D. Vance. Look what he does. He goes over to Germany and he speaks in Munich and puts all of them on blast for shutting down free speech and saying there's nothing democratic about that. And he's right. We played some of those clips on the show Wednesday about how Germany is just not knowing how to handle this. And Vance is telling them straight up, this is what we call speaking truth to power. Now, what's going on this week? Well, this week, the big CPAC event is going down in National Harbor. I covered CPAC 6 or 7 years in a row. Every year for a long time I went. After about year 5 or 6, I started kind of getting burned on the whole thing. Not that I don't enjoy CPAC, I do, but it really is a lot of work. And it really is a lot of walking around, and it really is a lot of sitting around and waiting for speakers. And so I don't miss it, but I did notice some stuff that's happening at CPAC that's a bit troubling. J6ers getting kicked out of CPAC with no real explanation as to why. There maybe more is coming out. Matt Schlapp and his wife Mercedes Schlapp, of course, run CPAC. Matt Schlapp has been in his own controversy lately. We won't get into that right now, but you can look it up. And it looks like he is trying to reverse course on this and say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't mean to kick people out. But we're still getting reports that, some people have been let back in, but some J6ers are not being allowed back in the venue. So I don't know. We'll follow along with that. But beyond that controversy, what's happening at CPAC is pretty strong. Javier Milei comes out and presents Elon Musk with a chainsaw, the chainsaw to slash the bureaucracy. It was absolute classic Javier Milei. Javier Milei, president of Argentina, is more American than almost every elected Democrat official in the United States. He really gets liberty and individual freedoms, and it's wonderful to see him out on that stage handing this big-ass chainsaw to Elon Musk. And Elon Musk, of course, I'm sure he wanted to fire it up because that's how he is. I don't think it had any gas in it, but it was a cool-looking chainsaw, and that was wonderful. And then, of course, you get some great roundtable discussions at CPAC, and you get to hear the president, and you get to hear. You know what? Let's listen to something right now. This is a short clip, but this is Elon. And he's at CPAC, and he's sitting down on the main stage, and he's discussing some of the stuff that they're finding at Doge. And this concerns COVID fraud, essentially. Check it out. Cut 1, Elon Musk at CPAC.
And by the way, it's like really easy to take advantage of the federal government. It's very easy.
Very easy. Look at COVID.
Yes.
Everybody got rich during COVID. I mean, look at all these scammers. It's unbelievable.
It looks like in terms of the COVID payments, there was something like $200 billion of COVID payment fraud taken by fraudsters out of the country.
Out of the country, yeah.
That's like I think, listen, if there's going to be fraud, it should at least be domestic.
Yeah.
So, but they managed to get $200 billion out of the country. I'm like, what? Didn't we notice that?
If there's going to be fraud, at least it should be domestic. Very good. $200 billion just walked. And let me just say this. Fraud, waste, and abuse of taxpayer money is as old as our republic. It's always happened. But it has happened at such an exponentially quicker rate of the last 4 years that it's almost mind-boggling. The amount of money that the Biden administration just pissed away on their special interest groups and their NGOs and probably their own slush funds on the side. It's just staggering. This is why they hate Elon Musk. This is why they hate Big Balls, one of his guys that's helping him there. This is why they hate Trump. Their gravy train is getting siphoned from, and they don't quite know how to deal with it because the tactics that they have used in the past are no longer working. When you live by the sword of identity politics, you tend to get slain by that same sword. They eat their own. And when the identity politics has worn off on the American people, and the people are saying, I'm sick of this garbage, then where do you go? Well, they don't have anywhere to go. $200 billion of COVID relief funds left the country to parts unknown around the world. Pretty stunning, huh? Now, I want to also focus on Kristi Noem. She's another wonderful, wonderful pick that Trump has appointed here. I mean, this woman is she's more manly than most Democrats, that's for sure. And she's also quite a looker, but she's serious business. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem went on Twitter, or X rather, yesterday, and she just went through a few of the people that are being removed from this country that were allowed to travel here and stay here, and in many cases, even after they had been arrested, released back onto the streets. And just look at some of these folks that Kristi Noem is talking about. Cut to, Annie, right here.
I was just going through some of the folks that we've pulled off the streets to deport out of this country because of President Trump's focus on making America safe again. Here we have a guy named Gonzalez, who's been convicted of sodomy of children less than 13 years of age. He has been sentenced to prison, but he is out of our country now, thanks to President Trump. Another guy here who is arrested and has been removed, but he was convicted for possession of distributing child porn. So this guy was distributing that throughout the country, illegal alien, gone from our country now. Here we have a Chinese national convicted of murder, now is gone, a citizen of China that came here and was convicted of killing people in this country that are gone thanks to President Trump. Thank you to all the brave men and women that are out there deporting these illegal criminals. They get up every day to do it and are making our communities safer.
Bravo. I mean, just bravo. Imagine, if you will, Mayorkas ever doing something. He never would. Because Mayorkas was on the other side of the equation, wasn't he? He used ICE to distribute these illegals around the country and put them in these cities that are terrorizing the people that live in those cities, Americans. So bravo to Kristi Noem. By the way, we have a couple of comments. No apologies, writes Steve. If CPAC really banned J6ers, do you think it's pressure from the big donors, or are they trying to play quote unquote respectable politics? You know what? I tell you what, it may be a little bit of both. I know how this works, having covered CPAC a lot of times. I don't know. I think the truth of this is going to start kind of shaking out. But I will give you a story that I witnessed firsthand, and it was fraud, and it was played out on, back in the day, it was still Twitter, and it was played out on Twitter, and it was played out on all the social media sites. Some folks with the Alex Jones show, InfoWars, filmed themselves being forcibly removed from Media Row. Well, here's the problem with that. It never happened. I was there. The guys that were claiming to be getting kicked out 10 minutes later were sitting back at their table laughing about it, saying, can you believe how many hits this is getting? Now, I'm not saying it all, and I'm not even implying that that's what happened with the J6ers. What I'm saying, though, is we probably ought to wait and see exactly how it shakes out and see what happens. I've got no love lost for anybody that would try and deny J6ers their right to be there. After all, they all got full and complete pardons by President Trump. But that said, we don't know the whole story. So I'm going to wait and withhold. I would just say that donors, pressure, perhaps. I don't know, though. President Trump has been very clear on where he stands with the J6ers, and many of them were completely innocent. There were some of the clowns that beat up on cops and stuff, and those people I don't have any sympathy for. But the vast majority of people that were roped in were political prisoners, and those are the ones that have been recently going on X and other platforms and saying, look, I got kicked out for no reason. So I look for, maybe we'll get one of them on here at some point in the future. Also, Kim A says, the dream team overseas. You're not kidding, Kim. I mean, you're not kidding, right? Domestically, it's a beautiful thing to watch. But you see Vance go over to Munich and basically just dress them down. They don't know how to respond. And what do the liberals at home say? J.D. Vance is talking dictatorial, because, dictators go over there and give people lessons on why you should uphold freedom of speech. Yeah, it sounds very dictatorial to me, but there you go. So, these are the things that we expect with this Trump administration. It is bewildering the amount that he's getting done. And I remember in the first term, man, Trump made promises, and by and large, he kept them. And he's doing that again now, and it's just so wonderful to see. And we've got some more clips from CPAC here before long. I don't want to jump into my next one because it's a little bit long-winded, but it's a great one, and it's actually coupled with another clip that kind of underscores. It's a Ben Shapiro clip, and then you couple that with Steven Miller, and you'll see where I'm going with this. It's pretty interesting what's happening right before our eyes. Folks, we are living right now. We are living in historic times. It's like the old adage, oh, those were the good old days. We're living in the good old days right now. This is it. And at the rate things are going, we might be in them for a while. I do honestly believe that the golden age of America is behind us, or is in front of us, if we just take the reins and run. And by God, we've got a president that's willing to do that. And he has got a cabinet that is far exceeding my expectations. I saw the Marco Rubio interview with what's her name? It was brilliant. Harrington. I saw Kristi Noem. You just saw her. She's doing brilliant. Hegseth is shaking things up. Kash Patel in there now. It's just, it's great, and it's getting greater. And I'm just loving what I'm seeing, and I hope you are as well. Okay, listen, we're going to take a short break. We come back on the other side of it. We've got some more clips. Remember, feel free to weigh in on the comment, on the thread, wherever it is you're watching us. Are you watching us on X American News? God bless you. We love you for that. Give us a question or a comment. Maybe we'll read your comment on the air. Same goes for any other platform you're on. We've got a wonder producer named Annie, and she looks at all the message boards, and she brings the good clips and says, hey, Steve, let's talk about this one. So that's what we're doing here. You're watching The Right Hook. I am Steve Hook. We will be right back right after this.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Hey, by the way, I'm so happy. We're honored to have Mike Lindell and MyPillow on the program as an affiliate. And I would encourage you to take advantage of that special deal that he's offering there. Free shipping. Can't beat it. 800-749-7095. 800-749-7095. Remember the promo code HOOK. Here's Mike Lindell, a guy that cancel culture is thankfully a thing of the past, at least for now. It may come and rear its ugly head again somewhere down the road a piece, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But you talk about a guy that they wanted to cancel. Mike Lindell, by the way, I met Mike Lindell at CPAC, and he was as nice of a guy as you could ever want to meet. Tall guy, too. I didn't realize he was so tall. But he was a very nice guy, but they chased him out of retail stores because of his political views. That would never happen to a lefty, by the way. It just doesn't. But I think corporations are maybe starting to get the word. I'd love to see Lindell back in the retail stores. But go order some pillows, order some slippers. The Giza Dream Sheets are phenomenal. I've got Giza Dream Sheets literally on every bed in my household, including my pullout in the basement. So they're great sheets, great products, all made in America, made in Mike's home state of Minnesota by Minnesotans, hardworking Americans. You're not getting sheets from, I don't know, China or Sri Lanka or India or wherever. You're getting sheets that are made in America. So jump on that. Again, 800-749-7095 in the promo code HOOK. It doesn't get any easier than that. Okay, getting back to the comments. I love this one. I would love to see Mayorkas's bank account, says Glenn. Glenn, a lot of people would love to see Mayorkas's bank account. And a lot of people would love to see a whole lot of these folks' bank accounts. And this is exactly why they are so mortified of what's going on with Doge. That's worth pointing out that Doge has won 4 back-to-back court victories. And it's very simple. The executive branch, which is the president, has the right to look into the books of any agency that's inside the executive branch. And that's what Doge is doing, and they don't like it because that has been their source of ill-gotten gains, slush funds, payouts, feathering the nest of not only their own family, but feathering the nest of their NGOs and all the rest of it. So I would love to see the bank account of Alejandro Mayorkas as well. Okay, I mentioned this Ben Shapiro clip. Now, Ben Shapiro is a guy that I love, but he talks so fast. Sometimes slow down, Ben. Let me hear what you're saying. But he's pretty concise and he's pretty clear, and he brings up a great point. This was Shapiro on the main stage yesterday at CPAC, and he's saying something that I have thought about and mentioned on my own socials over the last couple of years. I've made mentions of stuff like this. But Shapiro really puts a fine point on why Trump is succeeding so fast and what he's doing with the power of the executive branch. And I think he nails it here. Annie, let's go to cut 3. Here's Ben Shapiro from CPAC.
I think the most important thing that President Trump has done is he has exposed the reality, which is that the amount of power that has aggregated in the executive branch over the course of time is extraordinary. And it is at the behest of the President of the United States. So for 2 reasons, this is really important. Yeah. One, because the Democratic Party established over the course of the last 100-odd years, really since Woodrow Wilson, that the executive branch was going to be the predominant branch of American government, and all power was going to be centralized in it, spending power, regulatory power, all of it. And then they basically said, and Republicans can't touch it. When we run it, we'll run it, and we'll put permanent employees in place so that when you run it, you don't run it. And President Trump came in, and he said, no. You've given all this power to the executive branch. Guess what? Guess who's the president now? It's me. And
long live the king.
And he literally put out an executive order saying, like yesterday, all of you people work for me. And here's your reminder. The executive branch is a branch of government. There is no 4th branch of government that is an unelected bureaucracy. And thus, you work for my agenda. And this is great for a couple of reasons. One, because it means that he's going to be actually able to clean out so much of the rot inside these institutions, and that's what Doge is in large part. But second, I think it sets up the predicate for if there is going to be a useful constitutional fight, which I kind of like, then let that fight be about the prerogatives of Congress. Let Congress try to actually go back to the original structure in a fair way, because for too long, Republicans have been playing by the Marcus of Queensberry rules on this stuff. Whereas I say, the rules apply when Republicans are in power, and then they stop applying the minute a Democrat is in power. And President Trump, as I said before, he lives in reality, and for President Trump, there's no set of rules where there are 2 sets of rules, right? There's either one set for everybody or there ain't no rules. Yeah. And he says there's one set of rules for everybody. I'm the president, and now all you people work for me or you're fired, which is just wonderful.
Yeah, you dare imagine that. You see, this is what they've done over the years, folks. And frankly, we've kind of let them get away with this. I've often said on my other programs and on my socials and stuff that apathy and ignorance is the biggest danger to the American electorate. Those people that you go up to and you're talking and saying, geez Louise, can you believe this? Oh, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't bother about politics. Well, not bothering about politics is how we got to where we're at. And our public schools didn't. What happened to civics classes? They're gone in large part. By the way, I'm not slamming all public schools. I happen to grow up in an area of New Jersey that has great public schools. But there are many that are not great. And unfortunately, it's led to civic ignorance. And what Shapiro is saying is here is what the Democrats have done over the course of the years is every time they've gotten into office, they've filled the government with bureaucrats. And most of them are friends of politician A, B, or C. And so they get this great gig, and then they're there. And then they're there for life. So when you have a Democrat administration, they all row in the same direction. But when the Democrats get booted and a Republican comes in, then the bureaucracy rows in the opposite direction. And what Trump is doing is he's coming in there and saying, guess what? I am the head of the executive branch, and therefore I'm going to can all of you. And we're going to start fresh. And they don't like that. But Steven Miller, and this guy, he's another guy I've met at CPAC over the years. And what you see with Steven Miller is exactly what you get off the air. The way he is when he's on camera is exactly how he is when he's off camera. He's a kind of a very energized fellow. Let's just put it that way. He's the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Yesterday, they had a big 30-day celebration in the press briefing room, and Caroline Leavitt was there, Mike Waltz was there, and Steven Miller was there. And also some journalists that you typically wouldn't see there, independent journalists. This particular guy is from Gateway Pundit, and he asked Steven Miller, and this is why you'll see this kind of ties in with the Ben Shapiro blurb here. Check this out. Steven Miller yesterday at the White House briefing giving a civics lesson.
And I have a question for Steven Miller about Doge. So you spoke about Doge. You said roughly $50 billion is set to be cut in a year of waste, fraud, and abuse by unelected bureaucrats. We're hearing this ironic narrative from the president's critics and the left-wing media that Elon Musk is an unelected bureaucrat and he's doing all this terrible stuff. Isn't one of Doge's objectives to get rid of the federal bureaucracy, the deep state, and also who was running the White House when Joe Biden was in office? Because I don't know a single person who believes it was Joe Biden.
You're tempting me to say some very harsh things about some of our media friends. Yes, it is true that many of the people in this room for 4 years failed to cover the fact that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent and was not running the country. It is also true that many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. A president is elected by the whole American people. He's the only official in the entire government that is elected by the entire nation, right? Judges are appointed, members of Congress are elected at the district or state level, just one man. And the Constitution, Article 2, has a clause known as the vesting clause, and it says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government. The threat to democracy, indeed the existential threat to democracy, is the unelected bureaucracy of lifetime tenured civil servants who believe they answer to no one, who believe they can do whatever they want without consequence, who believe they can set their own agenda no matter what Americans vote for. So Americans vote for radical FBI reform, and FBI agents say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote for radical reform on our energy policies, but EPA bureaucrats say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote to end DEI, racist DEI policies, and lawyers at the Department of Justice say they don't want to change. What President Trump is doing is he is removing federal bureaucrats who are defying democracy by failing to implement his lawful orders, which are the will of the whole American people. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
That is perfect. And that's exactly what he's doing. And this is why you see the left screaming about this, saying, look what he's doing. He's just going through and ripping people away from their jobs. Folks, those people were planted in those jobs by left-leaning Democrats in many cases, and in some cases, rhino Republicans. They're not going anywhere. They're there intentionally to gum up the works. A lot of them, not all of them. I know plenty of people that work for the government that are great government employees. Most of them will keep their jobs. But some of these folks, and he mentioned DEI, you understand that within agencies, whole sub-agencies were created for DEI, all on our dime. Biden's last jobs report, over 80% of the jobs, I think I'm right about that. I think about 80% of the jobs that were created in the last fiscal quarter were all government hires. So that's not like, oh, look how many jobs we're providing. Okay, well, if the news reported it correctly, they'd say all of these jobs were created and you're paying for all of them. But they don't report it that way. They play sob story. They play the old sob story game of so-and-so was a park ranger. She doesn't have a job today. Well, there's much more to that story, I'm sure. And some of these mass layoffs and stuff some of them will get pulled back in at some point. But you got to start somewhere. And the way you start is you say, if you don't agree with my agenda, then we don't want you here to gum up the works. And that's what they hate. Because, and the way they report that is, Trump is only hiring lackeys that support him, ignoring decade upon decade of Democrats doing just that, hiring people that they know will intentionally screw things up. We saw it play out in the first administration. We saw it play out. Vindman comes to mind. Remember him? So I love that. Ben Shapiro makes the point at CPAC that President Trump is exerting his executive authority. And then Steven Miller explains to the press gaggle why he has that authority and how he's free to wield it. And so far, courts, even Judge Chutkin, who is no fan of Trump, even they have stood down and said, you know what? He's got a right to do all of this. And this is what's got him scared. Another comment we got from Marine 87, Semper Fi Marine. Thank you for your service. He says, Kash Patel heading up the FBI. Do you see the agents actually changing under his leadership? Yes, I do. And I'll tell you why I do. Everybody is known, and it seems like there's certain things that you have to almost always say, almost as a disclaimer. Most of the rank and file FBI agents are good, hardworking Americans. We know that. It's kind of like when you talk about Islam and you say, well, you always have to say most Muslims are good. We know that. But the fact is that there are bad FBI agents. Most of them reside in the 7th floor. That's leadership. Most of them are appointed positions. Kash Patel now has it within his authority to go to the 7th floor and say, I want to see everybody here in the briefing room in 10 minutes. We're going to have a meeting. Bring all your staff with you because everybody needs to hear this. You're all fired. Do I think he's going to do that? Yeah. In large part, I think he's going to do that. I don't think he's going to fire them all, but I think you're going to see a lot of people leaving the FBI. And I think a lot of them are going to be on CNN and MSNBC and NPR and PBS bitching about it while the American people cheer it on. President Trump's approval ratings are doing very, very well. So Marine 87, I think that there's a good chance. And by the way, that is exactly why people like Adam Schiff are so scared. Adam Schiff is corrupt. And Kash Patel knows Adam Schiff is corrupt. In fact, coming up a little bit later, maybe in the next segment, I'll play a clip that kind of underscores that point. But all of these corruptocrats and all of these bureaucrats that have been hanging on, they're all nervous. Because unlike in years past where you've got lukewarm milquetoast Republicans that say one thing and do nothing, Trump is acting. And even more importantly than that, Trump's staff is acting. His cabinet is acting. They're all rowing in the same direction, and that scares the living hell out of people on the 7th floor at Quantico. It scares the people that are kind of just wedged in to these bureaucracies throughout Department of Education, Department of Energy, Department of Defense, Department of Justice. They're all nervous because they see this guy's for real. He's not messing around. And after all, why wouldn't he be for real? Think about it. Here's a guy they've tried to assassinate him. They've tried to lock him up for the rest of his life. They've gone through his home and raided his home. He's got every right to be furious. And now that he's won again and won big, he's going to change things big. All right, this is The Right Hook. I am Steve Hook. We take a short break. We come back. We've got more clips, more of your comments from the message boards, and we've got another great segment coming up right after this.
Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure for this, I hope I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
There you go. LUTF Studio, handmade, faith-inspired, a lot of patriotic things. Who is that beautiful woman that was just talking to you? That is my producer, and she's a wonderful producer, Annie Cyrus. She's also a wonderful artist, as you can see. Annie, you've got so much stuff that you're selling, and you're giving them a promo code that says promo code HOOK. I want everybody to know the promo code for LUTF Studio is Right Hook. Is that correct, Annie?
Yes. I'm sorry. You're going to hear me on an echo. Steve, bear with me. Okay, this should fix the echo. Yeah. Yes, so the promo code is a Right Hook. My bad. I will fix that for next Wednesday.
Well, these are all custom creations. All wonderful handmade art. Again, Annie is not only a hell of a producer, she's a hell of an artist. And if you want to get something as a gift or even for yourself or your mantelpiece, well, you saw it. Annie, it looks like you do everything from vases to coasters to paintings to pretty much everything. I guess you can find it all at the LUTF Studio, correct?
Yes, so we do diamond painting, acrylic painting, resin art, from home decoration to faith-based to, custom made. Just send me an email on my store and say, hey, these are my color themes. This is the item I want, and I'll make it for you. It's lutfstudio.com.
lutfstudio.com, and use the promo code Right Hook, and you'll get a discount, and you'll get some great art made from the one and only Annie Cyrus. So there you go. Okay, I want to thank everybody. I'm putting my glasses on because we're getting a lot of comments in. Daniel Carey says, you're a wonderful producer. Annie sent me this link to the show, and it's a great show. So, Annie, thank you for that too, huh? Also, Liberty, is it Liberty Bell, I think. Some say Doge is just political theater. Do you think it will have any real teeth to reduce the federal bloat? I think it will, but the problem with that is the federal bloat is, I think the most important thing that Doge is going to do, but beyond cut some of the waste, fraud, and abuse, it's going to open people's eyes to just how much of your money has been pissed away on pet projects, slush funds, kickbacks, NGOs that you don't support, and they just take it. I mean, how many people, if given the druthers, would say, you know what, I want millions of my dollars going to a transgender opera in Malaysia? I mean, how many would raise their hand for that? Nobody would. But that's what they do with the money. It's filthy lucre, man, and they spread it around. And I think Doge, if it does nothing else, It will wake people up to how much fraud and waste is going on inside the Beltway and all around the globe with our money. I mean, you heard Elon Musk say it in the first clip we played. $200 billion of COVID relief somehow found its way overseas to bank accounts unknown. So Doge is going to have a great effect on that. And we'll see where it goes. But I have no doubt that Doge has got them all scared. And that's really that's the sign you're looking for. If it scares them, it's working. And it's scaring the living hell out of them. That's for sure. I'd mentioned earlier J.D. Vance going to Munich for the security briefing that was there in Munich, and some of the big world leaders were there. Trump couldn't go, but he sent J.D. Vance, and thank God he did, because J.D. Vance, not quite as boisterous and in your face as Trump is, maybe, but he's very articulate, very plain spoken, and he doesn't hold punches. He doesn't say, well, I'm going to be nice because that's the diplomatic thing to do. He goes over there and he basically says, hey, you know what? We defend your entire continent. We are subsidizing your military. We are subsidizing your security. And you're starting to act a little bit different. You're starting to quash free speech. So here's J.D. Vance again at CPAC. Now, if I was at CPAC, maybe next year we'll all go, Annie, just a heads up. I would have been recording all this, but as it stands, I just perused the interwebs and found a lot of these clips. And here's J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance, yesterday speaking on his Munich speech and the relationship between the United States and the EU going forward. And it is, well, it's great. He's a hell of a VP. Check him out, J.D. Vance. Cut 5, Annie.
In giving that speech, what does this mean with the U.S.'s relationship with Europe?
Well, look, obviously, we're going to continue to have important alliances with Europe, but I really do think the strength of those alliances is going to depend on whether we take our societies in the right direction. Think about this. Germany's entire defense is subsidized by the American taxpayer. There are thousands upon thousands of American troops in Germany today. Do you think that the American taxpayer is going to stand for that if you get thrown in jail in Germany for posting a mean tweet? Of course they're not, right? So the point that I try to make to our European friends, and I think that they're our friends, I believe that, I know President Trump does, is that friendship is based on shared values. You do not have shared values if you're jailing people for saying we should close down our border. You don't have shared values if you cancel elections because you don't like the result, and that happened in Romania. You do not have shared values if you're so afraid of your own people that you silence them and shut them up. So let's have shared values. Let's defend democracy. Let's have free expression, not just in the United States, but all over the Western world. That is the path to strong alliances in Europe.
Gee, that sounds just so dictatorial, doesn't it? Doesn't this Trump administration sound like authoritarians demanding people get free speech and stuff? So Hitler-like, so Stalin-like, so Mao-like. Of course, it's none of those things. It's the exact opposite of those things. But we saw it play out here. We saw what the FBI did with Twitter. We saw how they blacklisted anybody talking about COVID. We saw how they shut down the Hunter laptop story. They're doing that in Germany now, and they're still getting away with it. I think they've got a guilt trip. And listen, I'm American, but I've got some German roots, and there's no doubt that people. And I was just in Germany last year. There's no doubt that some people in Germany have a real guilty conscience about their history. Who could blame them? But you don't emulate that history to try and stop that history. Hitler did not allow free speech, folks. He did not allow it. You didn't speak out, or you got a midnight knock from the Gestapo on your door. And then you were taken away and you were never seen from again. So J.D. Vance is saying what we all know to be intuitively true. Freedom of speech must be absolute. Even if we hate what people are saying, even if we despise what they say, we should fight for their right to say it. Because sometimes when people actually do express themselves openly, you realize that they're idiots. And so it's good to let the idiots out themselves. And in Germany, If you criticize the immigration policy in Germany and say we should seal the borders, they will arrest you for that. They will arrest you for that. Angela Merkel, and I'll say it, I don't give a damn. It's true. Angela Merkel destroyed Europe. She destroyed Europe when she insisted, as the most financially viable partner in the EU, that the EU would immigrate mass amounts of North African and Middle Eastern immigrants into their communities. No, here in America, we say it's a melting pot. Over there in Europe, it's all Balkanized. You heard the expression, the Balkanization? Well, the Balkans are where? They're in Europe. And this is what they're doing. They're bringing in, it's what Biden and Mayorkas were doing here. They're bringing in all kinds of people that have zero allegiance to their new countries. They have zero understanding of these traditions and morals and values of their new countries. They're bringing the morals and values from their old countries and insisting that your country must change and adapt to them. Well, some people in Germany are getting openly pissed about this. This is why AfD is doing so well in Germany right now. We'll see how it all shakes out, but I'll tell you one thing, as we talked about this past week, Trumpian policies are starting to catch wind everywhere, whether it's Milei in Argentina, whether it's in France with Le Pen, whether it's in Germany. And they need to embrace individual rights, individual liberties, and freedom of speech. But in Germany, in their own constitution, it kind of bans it. So that's what Vance is saying. That's what he's saying. You don't share our values if you're shutting people up like this. People don't have a right to not be offended. It's just not the way it works. And I find the defense of the German policies that we saw in 60 Minutes this past week abhorrent, totally un-American. But like I said, this is exactly what they tried to do here. And they did here. As I say, they tried to do it. They did do it here. The Twitter files blew the lid off of that. What Jack Dorsey and his cronies did to the New York Post when the Hunter laptop story came out was election interference. That was what that was. It was trying to affect the outcome of an election by burying a story that would have proven to everyone that, for one, Hunter Biden is just a ne'er-do-well, problem child, and his father and his uncle and many other members of his families are just international grifters. They didn't want that to come out, so they buried it. Well, this is what they're doing in Germany, and J.D. Vance called him out for it, and good for him for doing that. All right, now we don't have too much time left, but Annie, do we have enough time? You shared with me a wonderful clip of kind of a side-by-side Adam Schiff and Kash Patel. Do we have time to air that? Okay, if we do, let's do that. Now, the first part of this clip, you may have seen this. This was making the social media rounds yesterday. I saw it, and the juxtaposition of these two is pretty startling. On one hand, you've got Adam Schiff. He starts talking. He's a BS artist, and he's a corrupt. He's corrupt. He's a corruptocrat, and he has been for a long, long time. On the other hand, you've got Kash Patel, who basically puts him on blast. So check this cut out, starting with Adam Schiff, cut 6, go.
This is someone we cannot trust. This is someone who lacks the character to do this job, someone who lacks the integrity to do this job. We know that. Our Republican colleagues know that. The only qualification Kash Patel has to be FBI director is that when everyone else in the first Trump administration said, no, I won't do that, that crosses moral, ethical, and legal lines, Kash Patel said, sign me up. In the first Trump administration, as we are seeing in the second, you rise to the level of your sycophancy, and no one is a bigger or more dangerous sycophant than Kash Patel. This political hack does not deserve to be in this building. He can't do the job. He won't protect the public. He will misuse the resources of the Bureau. He will weaponize it against the president's political opponents rather than protecting the safety, the public safety of the American people.
Adam Schiff is the worst criminal.
For just a sec. to hear Adam Schiff say that he doesn't have, talking about Kash Patel, doesn't have the integrity to be in that building is so rich. Adam Schiff is the most corrupt. He went on CNN and said that he had seen the direct evidence of Russia-Trump collusion. He was making it up out of whole cloth. He had seen nothing. The reason they hate Kash Patel is not because he's a sycophant. It's because Kash Patel was the one that blew the whistle with the help of Devin Nunes, blew the whistle on the fraudulent nature of the Russian dossier that Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid for. He blew the whistle on that. And they've never forgiven him for it. And now here's what Kash Patel has to say about Adam Schiff. Please. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is Kash's response. Thank you, Annie. We're just doing a little housekeeping here. Go. That's great. The old Bollywood dance scene. You gotta love that. Do we have the clip of Kash basically talking about how much of a fraud Adam Schiff is, Annie? Yeah, okay, we're gonna get that racked up for you because you'll see why Adam Schiff is so mortified of Kash Patel. This is why Adam Schiff is shaking in his boots right here.
In Congress in the last 250 years. And what's broke that we're going to talk about right now is Adam Schiff met with a whistleblower. Adam Schiff went to the podium day after day after day saying, I know nothing about this. We're not going to discuss it. We're going to protect it. And then Adam Schiff, led the prosecution of the impeachment trial in the Senate of President Donald Trump. Talk about someone who was conflicted out of the game because he was part of the hoax that brought Charmella in, manufactured that false accusation, and then peddled it out to the world. And he continued, not surprising. He's lied about almost everything in his life. But now he lied just to set up a presidential impeachment. And that's what I was talking about, these disinformation campaigns. And then he should be investigated because he lied to the world about his interactions with Charmella, who is a whistleblower, and I can't stress this enough, that started a presidential impeachment. Now, your history is way better than mine, but I can't remember the last time a president was actually impeached. It's a significant...
Yeah. Well, I can remember the last time a president was impeached. It happened in 1996. It was Bill Clinton. But that notwithstanding, Adam Schiff is a fraud. Here's what he did. He planted the seed of impeachment, and then he acted as if I've just discovered this. And he's the one that, Charmella, he's the one that massaged this whole thing into existence. He is a fraud. He is a con man. He's a grifter. He's a liar. And there's nothing respectable about this guy at all. And if I was in the Democrat Party, I'd be ashamed of Adam Schiff. I'd be ashamed of him. I would want nothing to do with him. And we don't have much time left, but I would just say, this past Wednesday, I was talking with my buddy Michael Lauber, and we talked to Derek Evans, and we were talking about how long the Democratic Party is going to be wandering in the wilderness. The Democrat Party is going to be wandering in the wilderness until they throw overboard the hard left whack jobs that seem to be driving the agenda and setting the narrative right now. That did not work. Budweiser learned a very valuable lesson with the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light stunt. And they learned that maybe we shouldn't push this crap that people don't like. All of a sudden, Bud Light commercials have guys being guys and throwing the football around and stuff. They still haven't recovered, but they're desperately trying. And a lot of stores and businesses learned it's time to change. Well, it's time for the Democrat Party to change. We'll see if they have it within them to do it. Listen, I want to thank you for being part of The Right Hook. I am Steve Hook. Remember, every Wednesday and Friday, we're right here on X America News on X. We're also on Rumble, YouTube, of course, Facebook. You can find us on my page. Look for me on X at Right Hook 1776 and follow me there. And we look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday. Have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.